the trumpet in Zion, Zion. Sound the alarm on the holy mountain. Blow the trumpet in Zion, Zion. Sound the alarm.
They rush up the city, they run on the wall. Great is the army that carries out his word. They rush on the city, they run on the wall. Great is the army that carries out his word. The Lord utters his voice before his army. The Lord utters his voice before his army. Blow a trumpet in Zion, Zion. Sound the alarm on my holy mountain. Blow a trumpet in Zion.
Good morning and welcome to the Confronting Apostasy program. I'm your host, Brian DeLory, and I thank you all for tuning into the program this morning. And on today's program, I'm going to be presenting a message entitled The Fall of Satan and the Angels. Now, this is something that we all need to understand. This is a topic that is necessary for study because we need to understand these things. Everything in the Bible is put there for a reason, and so this is no exception. And so we need to study it so we can understand what happened with Satan, why he fell. Why the angels, there were certain angels that fell with him. And so that's what I'm going to attempt to do today. And in fact, you can consider this actually the introductory message to the fall of Satan and the angels. This is the introduction to that teaching series. And so I'm going to start today in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 12. This is where the fall of Satan is recorded. And so starting in Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12, it says, How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. And God says to him in verse 15, Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. So here is where the fall of Satan is recorded. Now, the creation of angels is not mentioned in the book of Genesis. We don't have an exact time for when the creation of angels occurred. However, you can infer from what you read in the book of Genesis, starting at chapter 1, that the fall of Satan and some other angels occurred prior to when Adam and Eve were created and placed upon the earth, when God placed them upon the earth after he replenished the earth. After he recreated the earth and he put them on the earth to replenish the earth. Now, let me try to give you the timeline I believe the Bible gives us for when these events occurred. Number one, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created heavens and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the waters. So Genesis chapter 1, where it says the earth was without form and void, we have the Hebrew word, which at this point I don't remember exactly what it is, but it is actually means to become So the earth wasn't created without form and void, but it became without form and void. Now, here's where things get a little bit tricky. There is something that is known as the gap theory or the ruin reconstruction theory, and it goes something like this. God created the heavens and the earth. Around that time, he also created the angels. He had put Satan in charge of the angels. Satan is of the cherubic or the cherubim class of angels, which is the second highest class of angels. The first is seraphim. But anyhow, God selected Satan from the class of cherubim angels to be in charge of all the angels. And at some point during that time, Satan became conceited. He became more or less infatuated with himself, and he saw that he was beautiful, and so he decided at that point that he was going to try and overthrow God, which is what I just shared with you from Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12. But, of course, he fell. Rather than actually succeeding in overthrowing God, God threw him out of heaven, and he was fallen from heaven. And it was at that point that he was thrown out of heaven and cast to the earth. Now, there was something there I wanted to tell you that it's completely escaped me. I just forgot what it was. But anyhow, Satan fell at that time. So this was prior to the fall of Adam and Eve. So this was the time frame for which these things happened. And of course, after Satan fell and was cast to the earth, many Bible scholars believe that because Satan was somehow ruler over the earth at that time, and over a race of beings on the earth at that time, that there was a great judgment that came upon the earth, a cataclysmic judgment, at which point, which is Genesis verse 2, that the earth became without form and void, and it was covered with water. That's what they believe. I am not absolutely certain that is what happened. I have a little trouble linking this fall of Satan to what is recorded in Genesis chapter 2. There's a lot of assumption, in my opinion, there's a lot of assumptions that need to be made in order to make this something that happened as a result of Satan's fall. But nevertheless, that's what many Bible scholars believe. And so at that point, the earth was destroyed. And so God only knows how many years elapsed between Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. It could be millions, billions, trillions. We just have no idea. So after Satan fell, and at a certain point, God decided to recreate the heavens and the earth, which is what is described here in Genesis chapter 1, verses 2. And God begins to restore the earth. And after he restores the earth, he places Adam and Eve. He creates a new race of beings made in his image. They're called human beings, and they are put in charge of the earth, and they are put on the earth to replenish the earth. And at that point, after they've been put on the earth, God gives them, he says, you can eat of all the trees on the earth, but of one tree, and that is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and you shall not eat of it, and for in the day you eat thereof, you shall surely die. So naturally, Satan, now in his fallen state, comes to deceive Adam and Eve and to get them to eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, which unfortunately they do. And at the moment that they do that, first of all, they are spiritually, remember I said they're made in the image of God. And so they're one with God, they're connected to God. And at the moment that they are deceived and eat of that tree, they lose that connection they have with God. And Satan actually becomes their Lord. I mean, it's sort of like a reversal of roles. At first, when Satan approaches them, they are over Satan. Adam and Eve could have told Satan, no, we're not going to do this. And remember, Satan also came to them in the form of a serpent, and that does not mean a snake. A snake became the snake after Satan used the body of the serpent, which in those days, most scientists, archaeologists, and Bible scholars believe the serpent was a creature who walked uprightly. And after Satan came to Adam and Eve in the form of that serpent and deceived them, God comes on the scene. He curses the serpent and says, on your belly shall you go all the days of your life. And he also tells Satan that because you've done this, you shall, the seed of the woman shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Now we get into the fall of the other angels. Now I am not absolutely certain when any of the angels fell, but it would seem to be the case that some may have followed Satan in his rebellion against God, but we don't know that for certain. Well, one thing we do know for certain is that after Satan fell, after he came and tempted Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and they succumbed to that temptation, and God told him that the seed of the woman shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Suddenly, we come to Genesis chapter 6, where these it's recorded that they are angels. It's not only recorded in the Bible, but it's also recorded in non-canonical works, such as the book of Enoch, the book of Jasher, the book of Jubilees, and some others. I think even the book of Josephus. So anyhow, they come into these human women, they lust after them, they take them as their wives, they have sexual relations with them, and the women give birth to a hybrid creature, which is half angelic and half human, and it actually, they are giants. And the reason this happened, this is believed by most Bible scholars, is that once God pronounced that judgment upon Satan, Satan realized that he was in trouble. And so the only way he could possibly avert his own demise was to get these angels to come to earth, have sex with human women, which they were not supposed to do. And after that, he was hoping that this would pollute the seed that God was talking about, which the seed is talked about there by God is Jesus Christ. But anyhow, Satan's plan was for them to come to earth and create this race of beings, hybrid beings, and the seed that, at least in Satan's mind, the seed that God had pronounced would come and eventually destroy him, would be prevented from doing so. Thereby, Satan would prevent his own demise, and in short, he would have won that battle. But God's a lot smarter than Satan, obviously. So anyhow, after the angels came into these women, there was, and they began to produce this race of giants. Then God judged the earth at Noah's flood. And God destroyed the earth again with water. And at that time, that race of beings that was produced by those fallen angels and human women was killed off. And that is when their spirits left their bodies, and their spirits became earthbound, and they became demons at that time. And then it happened again after the flood. There was another fall of angels that did the same thing. And again, if you read the book of Enoch, because none of this, what I'm about to share, is recorded in the book of Genesis. However, it's said in the book of Enoch that God, these angels became frightened. They knew they had sinned against God, and they petitioned Enoch. Apparently, in those days, angels and human beings mixed together on the earth. So they petitioned Enoch to go to God on their behalf, and which he did. And God told Enoch to tell those angels, "You shall never have peace." And he told them many things. You'll never have peace, and you're going to watch your sons, those demons, those race of giants, you're going to watch them destroy themselves. And then I'm going to cast you into the earth for 70 generations. And that's exactly what happened according to the book of Enoch. And these race of giants, when they were killed off, their spirits became, according to the book of Enoch, evil spirits, which is what a demon is, upon the earth. And it was at that time that the demons were introduced into the world's system. Now, at what point they became subjects of Satan, I'm not exactly sure. The Bible doesn't say, and to the best of my knowledge, there are no non-canonical works that give out that information. So up to this point, all we know is what I've shared with you so far, and this is how the angels fell, how Satan fell, how the angels fell, and how demons were introduced into the world system. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this message, and I'm going to be back tomorrow night with part 1 of this teaching series, The Fall of Satan and Angels. And I'm going to cover a lot of things in detail tomorrow night, so don't miss the program. I hope you've gotten a lot out of this tonight. It's been rather difficult for me. I want to throw something else in here very quickly before I close out the program. You know, it's mentioned in the book of Revelation that Satan, that the dragon in the book of Revelation drew the third part of the stars of heaven and cast them to the earth. And it is believed by most Bible scholars that this is referring to when Satan enticed these angels back in the book of Genesis to come in to try and destroy the seed that God said was going to come and destroy him. It is believed that that is what that verse of Scripture is referring to. It's in Revelation chapter 12. I can't remember what verse, but that's where it is. I'm not so sure I agree with that view, but it could be the case. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it isn't. But it was at that time when that Satan if that is true, and it was at that time where Satan drew the third part of the angels and cast them to the earth. I'm not so sure I agree with that, as I said before. And actually, you know, Jesus made a statement himself when the disciples came to him full of joy because they were able to cast out some demons. Jesus said, well, I saw Satan like lightning fall from heaven. So it seems to be a tad strange that this event recorded in Revelation chapter 12 took place sometime during the tribulation period, which is what is being covered there. I would think if Jesus saw this event occur, the fall of Satan occur, that it would have had to have been prior to or anterior to the creation of Adam and Eve. and so sometime way before the tribulation period. But I'll get into all that tomorrow night, and I hope this message tonight has been a blessing to you. The website for the program is confrontingapostasy.com. You can go to that website right now and avail yourselves of the information that has been uploaded there, and I hope you will do that. You can also visit our page on Facebook, again, Confronting Apostasy. I would love for you to like the page, leave comments, and what have you. I would really like to have your feedback, so you can go there to do that. And you can also make comments on my website as well. You can go to, the comment section on the website and do that if you wish. And so that's going to do it for today. Once again, I thank you for tuning into the program. And as always, until the next time, I leave you with this reminder to keep the faith and defend the truth. Have a good night, everybody.
The trumpet in Zion, Zion, sound the alarm on the holy mountain. Blow the trumpet in Zion, Zion, sound the alarm.
They rush on the city, they run on the wall. Great is the army that carries out his word.